Hardened leather or snakebite leather? Which leather is the better leather? Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. As always, my name is Jay, and in this video I love doing these comparison videos, these one versus the other videos. They tend to be a little popular, so I figured I'd make another couple. And in this one, I wanted to talk about leather. Leather is a color. When I started slap chopping miniatures, I didn't use a lot of leather colors, right? Because I think Tyranids didn't need it, but like orcs, some Space Marines, a little bit of Space Marine needed it. And leather is one of those colors that I use frequently now, especially with my orcs, but I don't use a lot on a miniature, right? It's mostly like straps, belts, boots. So I use it on every miniature, but not a lot of the miniature is leather. And when I started painting, when I painted my Space Marines a couple challenges ago, I had, because I bought the giant box set, I had Hardened Leather from the Army Painter Speedpaint line, and I used it for a while. I didn't really notice anything. It was good. It was good. It had decent coverage, but it had a couple problems. And so when I started to paint my orcs, I noticed these problems were even amplified even further based on a couple things. I'm going to discuss that in this video. So I decided to go out and purchase the Games Workshop Citadel equivalent, which is snakebite leather. And I figured let's make a video and put them against each other, right? So for this video, I'm going to take Hardened Leather from Army Painter, and I'm going to take snakebite leather from Citadel, and let's see which one is the better leather. That's almost a tongue twister. Better leather. Which leather is the better leather? Better leather. That's kind of cool. So yes, and I've decided to use a couple orc Commando models for this test because they both have a good amount of leather on them, and I'll show you my results. So of course, I started out with Hardened Leather, and of course I gave it a great shake to begin with. As you know, both of these paints will need great shakes before you can paint with them because they separate quite a lot. And the great thing about the Army Painter line is that they have mixer balls inside them, so they do mix very well, and when you give them a good shake, it really does work quite well for a good shake. And then of course I took my Commando model here and I painted a nice coat over the areas of all of the boots, the straps, and all the belts with the Hardened Leather. I just used it directly from the bottle. I put it into a hard palette. From there I put on a brush and put it on the miniature. And most of these leather areas were either zenithaled up or pre-highlighted up with wraith bone. That way they're nice and bright, and the leather will really work well in regard over these particular colors. So as you can see, I'm just getting a nice coat over all the leather areas with Army Painter Hardened Leather. And once I had completed that, I repeated the process with Citadel Snakebite Leather. And of course, I once again gave it a great shake and then applied a nice coat over the Orc Commando model. Once again, my whole goal is just to get over the entire area. I removed any excess, just, once I painted an area, I removed any excess if there was tons of build up on a certain area. But what I found with both of these paints is that they actually went quite well over the pre-shaded areas. They both had great coverage, as you can see, and they both went on the model quite easily. And then of course, I let them dry. Once they were dry, I finished basing them, and I really wanted to finish basing them to show the problem that I had with Army Painter Hardened Leather, and just show the comparison to see if the same result occurred with the Snakebite Leather. And so once these paints are dry, of course I took a look at them, and as you can see here, there's a significant difference in color between Hardened Leather and Snakebite Leather. Hardened Leather on the left is significantly warmer than Snakebite Leather, which is actually much cooler. So I found that the Hardened Leather was a bit brighter and much warmer, much more red tones, and I actually prefer that with my leathers. I prefer the color of the leather for the Hardened Leather over the Snakebite Leather, and I was quite surprised by this really drastic difference in results. However, there were also a couple other significant differences between the paints. The next thing you might notice is Hardened Leather is quite shiny. I find that some of the speed paints come out like a semi-gloss finish, like a satin finish, versus the contrast paints, which typically have a very matte finish. So as you can see, of course, the Snakebite Leather is very dull and colder, and the Hardened Leather is warmer and shiny. And I'm not a huge fan of the shininess. To be honest, I actually like the duller look of the leather because it doesn't really work as well when it's shiny leather. I guess it could be brand new, but why would it be new on an Orc Boy or a Commando? And so I wasn't a big fan of the shininess. And then the third issue is the bleeding. I've been using snow flock or the snow texture paint for my bases, and what I've noticed is every time I used Hardened Leather, regardless of what happened, it bled into the basing. And so it bled into the areas of the basing, and it would create this like muddy base appearance because the brown paint, even though I let it dry significantly before doing my basing, would always bleed into the snow. Versus the Snakebite Leather, which didn't do that, as you can see here. And I made sure in both cases that the snow was touching the boots, and as you can see, the snow on the Hardened Leather is bleeding in, the snow on the Snakebite Leather is not getting any bleeding in, and I really do like that as well. But of course, I also do highlight up my leather, because I do, I like to slap chop and add that highlight to each color. So what I did was I took some Scrag Brown for the next step, and I just did a quick highlight of each one to show how it would work with my Scrag Brown. Scrag Brown tends to be the color I use for my highlight, and I thought maybe it might tone down the shininess of the leather, of the Hardened Leather, and maybe it might bring these two colors closer together, right? So maybe the difference is less significant. And so I took some Scrag Brown and I highlighted up the leather areas of both models, as you can see here. And these are what the finished products look like, entirely painted models. So as you can see on the left-hand side, even with the highlight, the Hardened Leather is still significantly shinier than the Snakebite Leather on the right. These have had plenty of time to dry, and it's that finish. And even with the Scrag Brown highlight, it didn't bring the colors closer together. So technically in the end, I actually do prefer the warmer color of the Hardened Leather. However, I really don't like the shininess of the Hardened Leather, and I really, really don't like the bleeding into the snow for the Hardened Leather. So, in this case, both paints had amazing coverage. Both paints went on quite well. They both have a leathery appearance, but I have to give the win overall to the Snakebite Leather. The reason being is I don't prefer the color. In the end, it's still a great leather color, but the shininess and the bleeding into were kind of, they were the death sentence to the Hardened Leather, because I couldn't overlook those two. I really do like the warmer color of the Hardened Leather, but I didn't like those two effects that were a result of the Hardened Leather. So in the end, I have to give the win to Snakebite Leather. But Again, if you're using either one for your army, I bet you'll be happy. Just don't use Snowflock touching your boots, because you're not going to like that. And you may want to apply like a matte finish, a matte varnish by hand over that to dull it down, to bring it back to a more suitable finish. Up to you. But that was a fun video to make. I really do hope you like these comparison videos. What do you think? Leave comments in the comment section down below. Have you tried both leathers? Which leather in your opinion is the better leather? In my opinion, the better leather is Snakebite Leather. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos where I test different colors against each other of different product lines or maybe different colors. Leave comments in the comment section down below if you want to see more of these comparative videos. I really do like making them. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and hit that bell so every time I make a new video, you see it, which is awesome. As always, huge thank you for liking this video. Until next time, this is Jay saying happy painting with your contrast paints.